Alright, hey guys, it's Limit Fisherman here once again, and we're at the Macon Bass Pro Shops in Georgia. We've got DeFoe here, and we're going to sit him down and talk about several things like the classic experience he just had, as well as some tips to help you out with your fishing and stuff like that. Let's first get into it. What was your experience with the classic? How did you catch most of your fish, and what sets you apart from other anglers?
The first thing about the Tulsa Classic on Grand Lake was the temperature. It was really cold there throughout the whole event, practice and everything. But for me, when I first put my boat in the water, I saw the water was 45 degrees. I expected it to be a fairly tough situation. I expected the fish to be in a little bit deeper water, at least 8, 10, maybe 15, even 20 feet deep. And I expected them to be really sluggish, to not want to chase a bait that much. And I figured I'd have to really fish slow for them. But pretty early in the day, the first day of practice, I caught a few fish on a crankbait and really developed a pattern pretty quickly of how I could catch decent fish on a crankbait, and a lot of 2 to 3 pound fish. I caught probably 20 or 25 bass the first day of practice. The biggest ones I caught were about 3 pounds, and I caught about 3 that were around that size. And would have had around 14 to 15 pounds that first day of practice. A solid day, but I never did get any big bites. But I figured out a pattern pretty quickly, and it really surprised me just how active those fish were and the fact that they bite a moving bait. I was fishing it slow, but still, I was fishing a shad wrap, a number 6, and was able to catch fish on a moving bait.
What kind of areas or patterns did you target specifically, like points, inner points, stuff like that? What was it?
Most of my fish came in main lake pockets, not creek arms. I did catch a few fish out of a couple different creek arms, but the smaller main lake pockets, ones that were from 100 yards to a mile deep, going back in them, those were the best for me. And anywhere that they had a little secondary point or a place where the rock changed, if it went from big boulders to gravel or, gravel to nearly sand, those type of places, those transition areas is what I was keying on, especially if you had one around the secondary point. That was a big plus. And also I was fishing around a lot of boat docks. I didn't really catch fish off of the docks that much per se, but a lot of docks on Grand Lake have brush around them. And sometimes the brush is underneath of them, and sometimes it's off to the side. If there was a brush pile out to the side in 4 to 6 feet of water, it almost always had a bass in it.
All right, now you mentioned catching fish in main lake pockets. This time of year, they're wanting to get pre-spawn.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you target? Why are main lake pockets productive more than maybe creeks? Well, what's the meaning behind that?
The reason a pocket is going to be usually a lot of times more productive early in the year when the water's still cold, and I'm saying anywhere less than, say, 50, 55 degrees. I like to fish pockets more than I do big major creek arms, because if you think about a creek, I kind of look at it as its own lake. Like, Yellow Jacket Creek on West Point's one that comes to mind right off the bat. And a creek like that has a large population of fish in it, but there's going to be, and like Yellow Jacket Creek is 6 or 8 miles long, there's going to be a half a mile stretch of that creek that's going to be hands down the most productive. And the rest of it's not going to be very good at all. There's a big population in that creek that typically move kind of together, and most creeks have more than one group of fish in them. But there's going to be just little patches of fish here and there, where in a pocket there may not be a school of fish in it, but you can pull in there, and in almost every pocket you can catch a couple or 3. And you'll find a pattern that if you can pull in, and maybe they're just inside the main lake point, or they're on the second or third secondary point, or they're 3/4 of the way back in those pockets. It's a lot easier to put together a pattern, where in major creek arms you're looking for a group of fish that are in an area. So it's typically whatever you want to do. If you want to fish a couple spots, just find one or two groups or 1 or 2 areas to fish the whole day or the whole tournament, you're better off to go to a creek arm. If you're looking for a pattern, main lake pockets are the way to go.
Is that different than any other time of the year? You mentioned water temperature. Is that different?
It's no, not really. I mean, it kind of works that way throughout the whole year. It's just that whenever the water's warmer, the fish are more active, and typically though, this time of year they're grouped up pretty good. So once you find them, that general area is going to be pretty good, like in a creek. But it's cold, so you can't cover a lot of water, and it makes them a little bit harder to find. So you just have to fish a little bit slower. Once you do hit them, you can really load the boat.
And we're going to continue that and elaborate. As far as, say it got warm,
Mm-hmm.
and it was and they were really wanting to get pre-spawn,
Mm-hmm.
would you be more apt to actually get into a creek and break it down?
Yeah, then I would. I would go to a creek because, like I said, a lot of times they have a bigger group of fish, and you can catch big fish out of main lake pockets. But a lot of times, once you get to warmer water, you want to get in a place where there's as many fish as possible. And a lot of times, that is going to be those larger creeks on those lakes.